My fiancée cheated with my younger brother in our bed 3 weeks before the wedding. I canceled everything and cut contact. But when she showed up 3 years later with the daughter my brother abandoned, begging for help, what I did left everyone speechless. I'm 34 years old, I'm a corporate lawyer, and 3 years ago, my life went to shit in a way that I still struggle to process. The thing is, I need to get this out of my system because what happened basically destroyed my family. Or, well, what I thought was my family. I guess I should start from the beginning, when everything seemed normal, when I thought I was going to marry the love of my life and that my younger brother was just an immature idiot but harmless. Rachel and I met in law school, like 8 years ago now. She was smart, ambitious. We had the same professional goals, you know? That connection you think is enough to build a life on. We got engaged after 5 years together, and honestly, I thought it was the most correct decision I'd made in my life. We had planned a spring wedding, nothing extravagant but nice, like 150 guests, a decent venue on the outskirts of the city. I worked at a big firm. She was also a lawyer, but at a smaller firm. Everything was going well, or so I thought. Like the idiot I was, things started to change like 6 months before the wedding. Rachel lost her job, the firm where she worked shut down an entire department, and she ended up in the middle of the layoff. It wasn't her fault. It really was bad luck. But obviously, it hit her hard. She was the type of person who defined her identity by her career, so suddenly being unemployed left her kind of lost. I told her not to worry, that my salary was enough for both of us while she found something new, that she should use the time to relax a bit before the wedding. I think that was my first mistake, assuming things would resolve themselves. So, Rachel decided to enroll in a pottery class. Yeah, pottery, like making vases and that kind of thing. She said she needed something creative to clear her mind, something completely different from law. I thought it was fine, honestly. I thought it was healthy for her to have a hobby. What I didn't know, what I had no fucking clue about, was that my brother Lucas was also in that class. He had started like a month earlier because, I don't know, he was in one of his finding himself phases or whatever. Lucas was always like that. Like the spoiled child of the family who could never hold down a steady job, jumped from one thing to another, lived off temporary jobs, and money my mom gave him. He was like 28 at the time, 5 years younger than me, and basically was a mess on legs, but with enough charm that people, especially women, forgave him everything. At first, it didn't seem weird to me that Rachel mentioned Lucas when she talked about her class. Hey, I saw your brother today. He's making some interesting pieces. That kind of casual comment. Lucas lived in the same city as us. Sometimes we'd see each other at family dinners, but we weren't close. I was always the responsible brother, the one who got good grades, the one who had a life plan. He was the total opposite. My mom adored him precisely because of that, because he was her baby, her boy, who needed constant protection. My dad was more neutral, worked in construction, and basically stayed out of family drama. But then Rachel started spending a lot of time with Lucas. Like the class was twice a week, but suddenly they were meeting up to practice at other times, going for coffee after sessions. She mentioned him constantly. Lucas says this. Lucas thinks that. Lucas helped me with my project. I started to feel uncomfortable. I'm not gonna lie. One afternoon I asked her directly, "Hey, don't you think you're spending too much time with my brother?" She got upset, told me I was being paranoid, that they were just friends, that she didn't have many friends since losing her job, and that Lucas was fun and made her feel better. She made me feel like a jealous and controlling boyfriend, so I kept my doubts to myself and tried to trust her. Big mistake number 2. This went on for like 2 months. I was working a lot. I'd taken on a big case at the firm and was getting home late almost every day. Rachel spent all day out, supposedly at class or job hunting or with Lucas doing pottery or having coffee or whatever. When I'd ask her how the job interviews went, she always had vague excuses. No chemistry with the interviewer, not the type of firm she was looking for. She needed more time. Looking back, all the signs were there, but I was so buried in my work and wedding preparations that I didn't see them or didn't want to see them. Everything exploded on a Tuesday afternoon, like 3 weeks before the wedding. I had a business trip planned for the whole week. I was going to be away, presenting a case in another city. I left early Monday, but it turns out the case resolved faster than expected, and I came back Tuesday afternoon, like around 4 in the afternoon. I didn't tell Rachel I was coming back early. Thought I'd surprise her, maybe bring her flowers, do something nice because we'd been a bit distant with all the wedding stress. I got to our house, opened the door with my key, and everything was silent. I left my suitcase at the entrance and heard noises coming from upstairs, from our bedroom. You know where this is going, right? I went up the stairs, and when I opened the bedroom door, there they were, Rachel and Lucas, in my bed. In the bed I shared with my fiancée, with the woman I was going to marry in less than a month. My brother, my fucking younger brother, was having sex with my future wife in my own house. I don't remember much of the next few minutes. It's like my brain short-circuited. What I do remember is that I threw myself at Lucas and punched him in the face before he could even get out of bed. Rachel was screaming, trying to cover herself, saying, "Wait, wait, I can explain." Lucas was also yelling something, but I just wanted to kill him. Literally kill him. I hit him like 3 or 4 more times before he managed to push me off. He had blood on his nose and mouth, and he looked at me with an expression I'll never forget, like between fear and guilt, but also something else. I don't know. Defiance? I yelled at them to get out of my house. Rachel tried to come closer to me. She was crying, saying, "Connor, please, we need to talk. This isn't what it looks like." It isn't what it looks like? Seriously? I had just found them, literally fucking in my bed, and she was telling me it wasn't what it looked like. I told her she had 10 minutes to grab her things and leave. Lucas was already getting dressed, quickly, without saying anything. Rachel kept crying and trying to explain, but I couldn't even look at her. I went downstairs, grabbed her suitcase that was in the entrance closet, and started throwing her clothes inside. Everything I found. She came down dressed, still crying, and I threw the suitcase at her and told her to leave and never come back. Lucas was still there, standing in the living room like an idiot. I asked him how long this had been going on, and he just looked at me. "How long?" I yelled at him. He said, "Like 2 months. 2 months. 8 weeks. All the time I thought they were friends making pottery. They were having an affair." I asked him why, though it was a stupid question because what answer could he give me that would make this better? He said something that still makes my blood boil when I remember it. He said, "I love her, Connor. I've always loved her since I met her. We didn't plan it, it just happened." I felt like my head was going to explode. I told him to get out of my house before I called the police or before I killed him, whichever came first. He left, but before he did, he took out his phone and showed me the messages between him and Rachel. There were like hundreds. Months of conversations I didn't know existed. "I love you. I miss you. I can't wait to see you. I hate having to hide." It was like a second punch to the stomach. Not only had they betrayed me that night, they'd been planning this, lying the whole time, building a complete relationship behind my back while I worked to pay the bills and plan a wedding. The following days were a nightmare. I canceled the wedding, which was humiliating because I had to explain to everyone why. My family found out, obviously. My mom called hysterical, saying, how could I throw Lucas out like that? That he had a broken nose, that I was too violent. I explained to her what had happened, and you know what she said? She said that mistakes happen, that Rachel was probably confused from losing her job, that Lucas was young and impulsive, that these things can be overcome as a family. I couldn't believe it. My own mother was defending them. My dad didn't say much, just that he was sorry and that I should take whatever time I needed. Like a month after all this, Rachel contacted me. She said she needed to talk to me urgently. I didn't want to see her, but she kept insisting, so I finally agreed to meet her at a public cafe. When she arrived, she looked different, like thinner and more tired. She sat down and dropped the bomb on me. She was pregnant, with Lucas's baby, obviously, like 2 months along. I didn't know what to say. I just sat there, looking at her, processing that my ex-fiancée was going to have my brother's child. She told me she didn't know what to do, that Lucas wanted her to abort but she wasn't sure. that she still loved me, that she'd made a terrible mistake. I told her that wasn't my problem, that she and Lucas had made their choices and now had to live with the consequences. I got up and left. My mom found out about the pregnancy and went into grandma mode. Suddenly, everything was about protecting Rachel and the baby, about how Lucas had to take responsibility. She organized a family meeting that I refused to go to. According to my dad, who did go, my mom basically forced Lucas to marry Rachel. They got married in a small ceremony when she was like 4 months pregnant. My mom called me to tell me I should go support my brother on his big day. I told her she could go to hell, that if she wanted to continue having a relationship with me, she should never mention Lucas or Rachel again. She cried, said I was forcing her to choose between her children. I told her she had already chosen when she defended Lucas from the beginning. After that, I basically cut off contact with my mom and Lucas. I only talked to my dad, and only occasionally. I kept working, threw myself completely into my career because it was the only thing that made sense. Months passed. The baby was born, a girl they named Olivia. My mom sent me photos that I deleted without looking at. Lucas tried to contact me several times, messages saying he was sorry, that he wanted to fix things, that we were brothers. I ignored them all. As far as I was concerned, I no longer had a brother. Like a year after all this, I decided to move cities. It wasn't just because of them. I also got an incredible job offer at a bigger firm in another city, like 6 hours away from where I lived. It was the perfect opportunity to start over completely. I moved, found a nice apartment, started rebuilding my life. I made new friends, went out with some women, though nothing serious because I was still processing all the shit that had happened. My dad was the only one in my family who knew my new address, and I made him swear he wouldn't give it to anyone else. He promised he wouldn't. 3 years went by like that. 3 years of relative peace, of focusing on my work, of going to therapy to process the trauma, of learning to trust people again. I built a completely new life. I didn't know anything about Lucas or Rachel except for occasional comments from my dad, who mentioned that things weren't going well between them, that Lucas couldn't hold down a job, that Rachel had gone back to work but at something simpler because she needed to take care of the girl. Honestly, I didn't care. As far as I was concerned, they were dead. Then, like 2 months ago, on a Saturday morning, someone knocked on my apartment door. I opened it and almost had a heart attack. It was Rachel, standing there with a small girl in her arms, like 2 and something years old. The girl, Olivia, looked at me with big, curious eyes. Rachel looked terrible. I mean, I don't want to be cruel, but she looked worn out. Dark circles, wrinkled clothes, unwashed hair. The first thing I thought was, how the hell did she find my address? Rachel started talking before I could close the door in her face. She said, "Connor, please, I need your help. Lucas abandoned us. He left 3 months ago, and we don't know where he is. I have no money. I have no one else. Your mom told me to find you." That's when I pulled out my phone and called my dad. I asked him if he had given Rachel my address. He got nervous and admitted he had, that my mom had pressured him, that Rachel was desperate and with a small child. I hung up. My own father had betrayed me after 3 years of promising. He'd keep my location secret. I looked back at Rachel. She was still there, with the girl in her arms, waiting for me to say something. I asked her what she wanted. She said she needed a place to stay, that she had nowhere to go, that Olivia needed stability. Basically, she wanted me, the guy she had betrayed in the worst possible way, the guy whose brother had gotten her pregnant and then abandoned her, to rescue her. The audacity was impressive. Seriously. I told her no, that there was no way in hell I was going to let her into my house or my life again. She started crying, saying she had no options, that her family didn't want to talk to her because of all the scandal, that friends had turned their backs on her. Then she pulled out a folded paper from her purse and gave it to me. It was a letter from my mom. I read it right there at the door. It basically said that I had the responsibility to take care of Rachel and Olivia, that they were family, that I was selfish for having abandoned everyone, that a real man would do the right thing and give them a roof. It made me so angry my hands were shaking. I told Rachel to wait there, I went into my apartment, took out $500 in cash from my wallet, came back and gave it to her. I told her that was all I was going to do for her, to go to a hotel or wherever she wanted, but not to look for me ever again. She tried to say something else, but I was already closing the door. I heard her standing there for like 2 more minutes, probably waiting for me to change my mind. But eventually, I heard her footsteps walking away. After that, I called my dad again. I told him exactly what I thought of him for betraying my trust, for letting my mom manipulate him, for putting Rachel's needs over mine after everything she'd done to me. He tried to explain himself, saying he just wanted to keep the peace in the family, that he thought maybe after 3 years I'd be more willing to help. I told him I didn't want to. Talked to him again, that I no longer had a family. He went quiet and I hung up. But the story doesn't end there, because I also started thinking. Rachel had said Lucas had abandoned them and that they didn't know where he was. Something in me, I don't know if it was morbid curiosity or what, made me want to know what had really happened. I called a friend who works in private investigation, asked him to find Lucas. It cost me like $1,000. But 2 weeks later I had an address. Lucas was living in another city, working at a bar, apparently with a new girlfriend. He had literally left Rachel and his daughter and started a new life, just like I had, but for completely different reasons. I don't know what went through my head, but I decided Rachel deserved to know where he was. Not because I cared about her or because I wanted to help her, but because I thought Lucas shouldn't get away with it so easily. I sent Rachel a message with Lucas's address and simple advice. File 4, divorce and demand child support for Olivia. I also transferred her another $2,000, enough for her to hire a decent lawyer. I made it very clear in the message that this was the last thing I would do, that after this I didn't want to hear from her, Lucas, Olivia, my mom, or my dad ever again. Rachel responded thanking me, saying she would never forget this, that someday she would repay me. I responded one last time, telling her not to look for me again, to delete my number from her contacts, that for all intents and purposes I had died. I told her to use the money to fix her life and her daughter's, to sue Lucas for everything she could, but to leave me alone. She just responded with an okay. I blocked her number, blocked my mom's, my dad's, Lucas's. I changed my social media to private and deleted any relatives I still had added. I basically made a clean and total cut from everything that remained of my original family. It sounds drastic, and maybe it is, but after 3 years of rebuilding my life, only to have them come looking for me again when they needed me, I decided it was enough. It's been like 2 months since then. I haven't heard anything more from Rachel. I don't know if she found Lucas. I don't know how Olivia is, and honestly, I don't want to know. Sometimes I feel guilty about that girl because she didn't ask to be born in the middle of all this mess. But then I remember, it's not my responsibility. I didn't get her pregnant. I didn't abandon her. I didn't create this situation. Lucas and Rachel made their choices and now they have to live with them. My life now is quiet. I work, go out with friends, go to the gym. I'm casually dating someone who knows my whole story and doesn't judge me for it. Some nights I think about how my life would have been if Rachel had never taken that pottery class, if Lucas had been a decent brother, if my mom hadn't been so blind with her favorite son. But those thoughts don't lead anywhere productive. The truth is, I learned that blood doesn't make family. That sometimes the people who should protect you the most are the ones who hurt you the most. And that it's okay to cut ties completely when someone crosses certain lines. I don't regret giving Rachel that last money. I think I did it more to close that chapter than to actually help her. And I definitely don't regret cutting off contact with all of them. I guess the hardest part is accepting that my original family no longer exists, that I'm not going to have those traditional Christmas dinners or family gatherings. But I also realize that I can build my own family with the people I choose, with people who respect me and don't betray me. I'm still in that process, and some days are harder than others, but at least now I have peace. And after everything that happened, peace is worth more than any forced family obligation.